What is happening, everyone? Hope you're having a fantastic day. It's July and we are in the heat of summer. I thought it would be a good idea to jump on here. Of course, disclaimer, I am not a home improvement person, but I thought I'd jump on here. I am a homeowner with some ideas and some tips on some things that you can maintain around your home. Summer edition, things that would be beneficial during the summer that you can maybe think about and help you maybe save some money along the road. I'm a big proponent of preventative maintenance. Guys, we take our cars every 5,000 miles or whatever miles your car allots to get oil changed, to rotate tires, to get the oils and the different types of fluids changed periodically, brakes fixed, all these types of things. And if you maintain a good preventative maintenance record on your car will last a lot longer. And so will your home, and so are the things around your home. You know, there was a time when I was young and dumb and I wouldn't get my oil changed, just didn't feel like it, or was just lazy or whatever. And then when I grew up, I made sure I took care of those things. For the longest time, I've made sure that I've done preventative maintenance on my car and making sure that you spend a little extra money now to have those things taken care of so you don't have the big bills down the road. And it's the same when it comes to your home. These are just random tips that I came up with and share kind of what I've done in the past in regards to this. But obviously, if this applies to you, great. If it doesn't, pass it along to somebody that would be beneficial, just kind of giving you some food for thought. The first thing is your air conditioning and your HVAC unit. Obviously, you want to make sure that your filters are changed. That's a big one, making sure your filters are changed as often as needed, because those do build up over time with dust and can make the system work a little bit harder. Making sure that there's no objects in front of your exhaust fans and those types of things. And then obviously, one of the other things that my HVAC guy mentioned was spraying off the fan blades and those types of things, so they do kind of get built up. But honestly, what I did before I actually had to get a new heating unit and a new air conditioning unit, probably in the last 3 years. But prior to that, I had an HVAC guy that my system was a little bit older. I think it was originally with my house. I would actually have him come out and take a look at my system every year. And it didn't matter that it cost me 60 or 80 bucks just to have him take a look at it, but making sure that everything was running optimally, because as you're going into the summer months, we want AC, very hot outside, depending on what part of the country you live at. You don't want to be without AC. I would always have him check my HVAC unit and also my furnace. Just a food for thought, making sure that you're checking those things, making sure that there's no objects, making sure that your children aren't throwing things into the blade. I've heard all kinds of nightmare stories about those types of things and ruining expensive air conditioning units. So you just want to make sure that you just take a few minutes every summer right before you got to kick that off and double check your air conditioning units, just to kind of keep that preventative maintenance, because again, those things should last you a while. You don't want to have to replace those things more often than not, because they are and can be very expensive. That being said, let's move on to the next tip. Next one is, this is a great opportunity for you to inspect the roof. Go up and grab a ladder and make sure there's no loose shingles. Make sure there's no flashing that's pulling up. And obviously, you want to make sure there's no leaks coming in through the inside of the home, so that you get those addressed, because obviously those can turn into major problems if you don't address them. If your roof is a little older, you just want to keep an eye on it, make sure there's no shingles loose. We've had windstorms come in, and I know at least in my area, can blow shingles off, things like that. And again, every one of these tips, if you don't feel comfortable looking at those types of things and making sure that you feel comfortable saying, hey, I think this looks good or doesn't look good, you can always have a professional come out and take a gander at it. Again, I think it's important to know the status of your roof, to know the status of your air conditioning unit, to know the status of these things. Put a little bit of maintenance in there so that they last longer. There's nothing worse, and trust me, I had this happen to me 3 years ago, where it was 90 degrees outside. My air conditioning unit just went kapooey, and it took me literally a week before I get somebody to come out there, which I thought was a great turnaround time. So I'm literally blowing fans into my home because it was so flipping hot in the house. Obviously an inconvenience. So if you stay on top of these things from the perspective of they're coming to the end of life, having that conversation to make the investment to get new and making sure that those maintain on a regular, then you don't necessarily run into those situations. But again, things happen. The next one would be outdoor watering. So obviously, if you have any type of watering that's going on outside, you want to make sure that you shore that up as well. I know I've got plenty of neighbors that have automatic sprinkler systems, and I don't have anything like that, but obviously if checking that, making sure that that's working properly, because obviously in the heat of the summer, those things kick on and keep your grass watered and keep your lawn watered, and you want to make sure that those things are functioning properly. And then we're going to get into just some basic outdoor maintenance, right? So if you've got a deck, walking around periodically and making sure that there's no loose boards, no no rotting boards, making sure that if it hasn't been power washed in a while, you pull out the power washer. I had to power wash my deck this spring and power wash my siding, which is the next thing I want to talk about. If you got siding on your home, my home faces the north, so it doesn't get as much sun throughout the day, and so I get this weird moldy look about every 2 to 3 years. I got to come through and power wash it. But guys, especially if you're thinking about selling your home, you want to keep these things in tip-top shape, because all about curb appeal and keeping your house looking fresh and new. And it doesn't take much at all to just pull out the power washer and give it a good power wash. Or there's plenty of other startup companies around your town that you could support, a local business, and have them come out and power wash your house pretty reasonably, if that's something you want to do as well. And then last but not least, talk about being more energy efficient in the summer. Obviously with the heat and whatnot, if you have older windows, maybe getting some curtains, some blackout curtains, some blinds, so you can keep that heat from really building into the home where your air conditioning unit is obviously constantly moving. Just being cognizant of that. Putting some different door pillows, I guess is what they call them, that you can stick underneath. I know some people do that in the wintertime so that the heat doesn't escape, and do the same thing so that the heat doesn't come inside the house, making sure that you are as energy efficient as you can. Obviously, if you can upgrade and get new windows and those types of things, a lot of the windows nowadays have multiple layers of reflecting UV and keeping the heat down as much as possible. But if you don't have the ability to do that, then you can do it yourself and implement some things that will help your energy cost go down. Hope that's been helpful to you. Just wanted to throw out some tips. Again, guys, I'm not an expert. These are some things that I've implemented for myself, making sure that I don't have to spend an arm and a leg on huge and major big expenses. And obviously, if your furnace is 25 years old, 30 years old, if your AC unit's 10, 15, 20 years old, it's probably coming to its end of life. But if you can maintain it and keep it going and get it inspected and wait until it runs on its last leg before you have to repair it, it's always good, again, if you can try to avoid some of those inconveniences from that perspective. So with that being said, I hope you took something away from this. Share the video if you think it'd be helpful to somebody else. Leave a comment on some things that you do for preventative maintenance in the summer. Would love to learn and give feedback. Hope that's been helpful to you. Until next time, bye for now.